planet for the next 10 days. CNN's John Zarella was on hand for today's liftoff.
We have a go for main engine start.
Right on time at 7:35 a.m., the Space Shuttle Columbia raced off the launch pad toward the most ambitious shuttle mission in 4 years.
And liftoff of Columbia. A new decade of spaceflight begins.
Thick clouds at the Kennedy Space Center, which forced NASA to scrub Monday's attempt, were replaced by a patchwork thin layer. Columbia punched through them, and at 2 minutes into the launch, cameras captured a memorable picture of the solid rocket boosters separating. For the launch team, it was a great feeling to finally get the vehicle off the ground.
We had advertised that the new mobile launch platform and Launch Complex A were operational, and we believe we proved that today, christened it with a safe and successful launch.
Columbia's primary mission is to recover a satellite called LDEF, or Long Duration Exposure Facility. The crew is scheduled to rendezvous Friday with LDEF. LDEF is carrying 57 experiments that have been in space for more than 5 years. One of those experiments contains 12.5 million tomato seeds sealed in canisters. When the seeds are brought back, they will be turned over to high school and university students for study.
What we hope to learn is something about the survivability of the seed and the performance of the seed after extended flight in space.
Following this mission, NASA has 9 more scheduled this year. It will be difficult for the space agency to accomplish with 3 orbiters. NASA won't take delivery of the 4th, already named Endeavour, until 1991. Former NASA Administrator James Fletcher thinks it's time to start working on number 5.
It's crazy to close down the production line of the shuttle. We ought to be building the next one as soon as we get finished this one.
Fletcher believes the 5th orbiter could be built by a private company. But the immediate priority for NASA is the coming year, a full slate of high-visibility missions, deploying the Hubble Space Telescope, the Ulysses probe to the Sun, and flying a space laboratory are all on the books. John Zarella, CNN, at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida.
Still to come on Newsday, the gun used to kill a pregnant Boston woman may have finally been pulled from its watery resting place.
Prison sentences are handed down to some of Romania's most hated criminals.
And later,
Come get that shank of bacon, you big burly cowboy.
Jonathan is also a best-selling author, a serious artist who recently had a book of his works published entitled Hang-Ups. Welcome.
Thank you, Sonia.
Wonderful to have you. I have been a long-term fan, and so I would like to know a little bit more about you, the real Jonathan.
How far back do you want to go?
Well, let's start with the fact that you were born in Dayton, Ohio, an only child. It must have been lonely.
No, because you're always first on the wheel. If there's anything, a wicker basket, utensils, you know, left over from the armed forces, if they're clothes that somebody's been hid in, you know, and they wash them up and put them on the couch, you get them. I was an only child. I find the sad thing, there are good things and bad things, as I mentioned. My mother was a lovely lady, not unlike yourself. She's brunette, but she was a very lovely woman and doing similar work, not on television, but
radio. She was on radio. Did you sit at her skirts to learn your art?
Well, I was in the kitchen while she was listening to herself, and there is an ego problem that happens with show people. I found that. My father was always combing what was left of his hair, and my mother was doing this. Oh, dear, I was a surprise. I think even before I arrived in Dayton on November 11th, I was a bigger surprise as time went on. But my mother, any time I came in to any area that she was there, she would say, "Oh, it is you. Oh, my dear. You know, I'm doing my hair again. I'm going out." I said, "Well, Mother, it's 8:30 in the morning. Where are we going, down the grocery?" "No, I'm going out. Okay, bye-bye." And then she'd come back in a year. My father drank a lot of shaving lotion and then finally stopped and still had bad breath. And, but to say I enjoyed being an only child, I really didn't. The thing is, if you want, and God forbid, I'm not saying this to any one person, a boy or a girl or an adult. I don't endorse this. But it is interesting. If it goes through your mind that you'd want to steal something, you really think about it, because There is nobody else to blame it on.
Yes,
See?
I can understand.
They go right to you. Did you take the pen and pencil set? You took it, didn't you? No, I didn't. You did. Who else in the house would take it? Of course, other people did take it, but I couldn't prove that.
Now, when you got to school, were there certain subjects that you excelled in? I mean, were you good in school? Did you like
I was
certain
what
things?
you would call a slow student. Today, that student would be dumb, or dumb then and slow now. But one thing about dumb kids, I wasn't the intellectual I thought I was. I was glued to the ladies, even then. Young girls in alpaca sweaters. And I still have alpaca. I guess, no, it's not Angora, I'm sorry. Blew it.
Whichever.
Whatever.
Yeah.
We only had alpacas, and we killed them on the countryside. Whatever, I had Angora. I still have Angora on both my hands. And that's from rubbing their backs, and they had back problems. Saved it.
Now, you went on radio as a first. I mean, that was really your first introduction to the public. And
Pretty much so.
You did some interviews. Did you interview
I interviewed myself.
You
Well,
interviewed
6 to 8 in the morning, there's
yourself.
nobody up in Dayton, except General Motors people, Frigidaire, Delco, and some other factories.
Well, you must have really perfected the art of interview if you interviewed yourself.
Yes, I didn't do a bad job. I would say, as a matter of fact, something like this, I'd say, hey, there was always a big watch, I mean, a big clock, which there always is for radio and television, and you could look up, oh, it's 8:10, it's going to be 8:11 before you know it. It's cold out there today, about 40 below, could be maybe 42. What do you care? Wear something, at least until you get to the factory. I want to talk about Nat King Cole in a little while. He's not going to be here, of course. He's in California recording, or maybe in Europe, probably downtown Berlin. But we're going to have Wing Commander Leslie McPherson. And Wing Commander, what brings you to Dayton, Ohio? And a little pause.
Well, it's just a joy to be here on your show, Jonathan. And I love W-I-N-G, wing, because it sort of represents Dayton, as it were, with wings and aircraft. And I've flown a secret aircraft over.
Tell me, let me ask you this. This got the big reaction from the board where it lit up. What do you think about, Wing Commander, what do you think about? I know you're from England.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I was born in Scotland, but I was reared in England, went through flight school in England. You could tell.
A little bit. Tell me this. What do you think of Dayton, Ohio?
Probably one of the most beautiful cities I've ever been in my life.
Well, it was like Christmas, only it was February. And the whole board lit up. And the word, a lot of the language was, oh, is that clown, for God's sake, tell them about Dayton. I'm from Dayton, man. It ain't no beautiful town. It was different.
Well, it's a wonderful opportunity for a young man to really kind of catapult himself to stardom, and that's what happened to you.
Well, it was an opportunity. There was no money.
Well, the money must be really big now.
Well, I would hope so. I see a lot of signboards with disc jockeys. I miss radio. I still do a lot of radio, and I love it because of the world of imagination.
We have an opportunity to talk to you about many things, and one of the things we're having on later in the show, as you may have heard, is mature dating after years of marriage.
Oh.
And I remember that Maud Frickett.
Maud Frickett, yes.
Loved younger men.
She's a woman 86 years old now, still loves younger men. And tight bodies, you know, clear eyes, and no glasses, work out constantly.
Is it true she used to paint them bronze in the winter so they kept their
Yeah, she kept them
polished
outside.
mahogany
kept them
look?
outside, kept them polished, you know. Mrs. Frickert, oh, Mrs. Frickert. You can ask Mrs. Frickert some questions.
I can?
Surely.
Oh, I'm glad she's going to appear in front of
Oh.
us. You know what? Let her think about the best experiences she's had with some of these men.
Best experiences for her were lying down.
Well, we'll give her a chance to share those in
Surely.
a moment as we invite our audience in to talk with
boy.
us.
We're gonna
and
get
we'll get
some
to
big
hear
calls
more
now.
about your Showtime
Okay.
special in
Thank
a bit.
you.
213-469-5533. Your opportunity to talk to the one and only Jonathan Winters.
That's fun. I like to bring these in on Thanksgiving Day, you know, and when Aunt Emma's there. What is it, honey? This.
God!
Your baby's first taste of love.
Today is the one and only Jonathan Winters. You'll have a chance to speak to him in a moment, but I had promised that Maud Frickett would have a chance to join us and tell us about some of her great experiences with younger men. They are?
Well, I love, you know, men from all walks of life, regardless of race, color, or creed. I like preferably tall men because usually that's true. When they're taller, if nothing else, they're taller, they're bigger, and they're stronger, and they can carry you up the second flight to the duplex and throw you down on the ceiling and smother you with kisses and bring you chocolates and go for the ice cream.
Do they keep you young, Maud? That's what we want to know.
Well, they keep sections of me young. They keep my eyes young, my mind young, and some other areas, my feet.
We're going to take a call now. We're going to go to Bill in California. Welcome, Bill.
Hi, Sonia.
Yes.
Miss you. I'm an ex-Birmingham, Michiganite, but now I live here in California. Used to see out there. Jonathan, glad to get a chance to talk to you here. What do you have any ideas for an aspiring comedian like myself? I like to get out there and do that. I've always admired you and your work.
Well, I would take my time coming across to the west, or if you decide to go east, whatever it was, I decided to go east, and I spent 11 years in New York, and then I had to save my money to come out here. I never discourage anybody. I think that you give it a try. Take a year out of your life. Take no more than 2 years out of your life, and then you know, think about it. If you're really broke and things aren't happening, but do it. Go ahead and do it. Take a crack at it.
You bring some young comedians to the fore in this special. Jeff Durham is
Yes.
one of them. A gal who has a very interesting name, Tamayo Otsuki.
Yes.
I believe. And then Frumstein, is that really his name? Stevie Ray Frumstein?
Yes, right, yes.
Okay, now, why did you select those three?
Well, very simply, I thought they were rather unique and very funny, and I hadn't seen them before.
Is it unusual for a comedian to bring other comedians to the fore? Is it a threat in any way?
Well, it can be very dangerous. I scotch taped Robin Williams' legs and his hands and masking tape across his face. And when I took it off, it was like taking a genie out of the bottle, you see. Dangerous. But no, I think, I think you reach a stage, I don't know, I never considered, I've always been, a little frightened. I think that's a lie. Perhaps I'm wrong with regard to competition. I think it's always kind of scary. Guy comes on before you do, after you, or gets the show, you don't, whatever. But I welcome competition. I think this is what it's all about.
We're going to go to Rhode Island now and say hello to Justin. Hi, Justin.
Hi, Sonia. Hi, Jonathan.
Hi.
Hey, Jonathan, I got to say, you are one extremely funny dude. But, Jonathan, what was it like filming Stanley Kramer's It's a Mad, 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 Mad World?
Well, that's a book in itself, but interesting you should mention Stanley Kramer, because next week, just this past week, I had lunch with him, and we're good friends. We've remained friends over the years, ever since he gave me that was my first film that I'd ever done, and probably the biggest film I'll ever do. And so I've always loved Stanley. He's a dear friend. He's a very sensitive man, a great, great director. He's done things that I'm sure you know his credits as well as I do, if not better. Ship of Fools, On the Beach, Judgment at Nuremberg.
It was a great experience, I'm sure, for you
yeah.
to be able to do that.
And I just love Stanley, and I can't say enough about him. And needless to say, the picture, we've lost a lot of guys. We just lost Terry Thomas the other day. Ethel Merman and Spencer Tracy, some great people.
We're going to move on to Jeff in California now. Welcome, Jeff.
Welcome. Thank you very much. Hi, Jonathan. How are you?
Fine.
I wanted to ask you, in your very, very early days as a stand-up comic, we'll go back in the Wayback Machine here, was there ever a lull in the performance where all of a sudden, you had a heckler or something like that?
Or just blocking. I mean, did you ever walk out and just...
Yeah, I still have that. Medication doesn't work for me. You put 100 people out there and you just like this, look like somebody hit you in the middle of the back with a steel hammer. My hands still get quite damp. Only one guy I've ever met in my life.
It's good for the alpaca, though.
Are you holding my hand?
Yes,
Ooh.
is that all right?
Ooh, is the doctor still in Detroit? Mrs. Winters is over there in the valley. Okay, honey, bye-bye. No, we're kidding. No, I still get nervous. I don't know any...
Isn't it good to get nervous? To some degree, people don't
healthy.
recognize that the adrenaline gives you a better edge, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I have been told that you are a feminist.
Feminist. Yes, true.
And that you really are in favor of all the progress that women can possibly make. In fact, let me just ask you, would you vote for a woman for president?
Immediately. If there were a booth here in the studio, I'd go to it. I love women more than anything in the world. I'm married. I must make that clear over and over again. I've been married 41 years to a great lady, wonderful gal. And people constantly cross a room to go to her and say, Eileen, how do you do it? How do you put up with him? I've only had 3 women in 41 years come to me. One, a professional woman, a woman of the night, a woman of the streets. I'll turn your clock around. But she'd had some bad falls. The other woman was crazy, just like me. Jonathan. She was covered with confetti. There was no parade. And I guess the other, I don't remember the third one. I had to get her out of my mind before we got in the car.
Jonathan Winters, good luck, not only with Showtime, all of the wonderful things that you do, and the possibility of a TV series. We'll be looking for that.
Who knows?
Good luck.
Thank you.
Luck. We'll be right back.
Oh, that getting up riding in the summer days on London riding. Oklahoma, when the stars are climbing in the sky, when the days are fine and the fine and night.
Bob, I've got something.
There's no one to lose. Tonight, a very special 1 hour with the 40th President of the United States, Ronald Reagan. Now, here's Larry King.
Good evening. This is the 4th night of a 2-week sojourn to the City of Angels. We'll be here all through next week. Among the guests coming up tomorrow night, Sammy Davis Jr. will join us. Next Tuesday night, Walter Matthau. Our special guest for the full hour tonight is a gentleman very familiar to this city, the former President of the United States and a man who had an effect on the decade second to none. If you want to talk to the former President of the United States, Ronald Reagan, we'll be taking calls in a while at 213-469-5533. We're going to go all over the bases tonight. What do you miss the most? It's been almost a year. What do you miss?
Well, really, the people. The very fine people that you worked with and all of that. That was it.
Don't miss the trappings? Don't miss the White House itself?
No. If I had to pick places or anything like that, I have great many happy memories of Camp David, where you lived in a normal-sized house and could go out the door and take a walk if you wanted to, or ride a horse.
Those were disadvantages to the White House then?
Well, the thing is, there was a certain amount of burden of gilded cage atmosphere there. You could look out the windows at the people walking on Pennsylvania Avenue and so forth, and you knew that you couldn't go out and do that. You were kind of in there for security reasons and so forth. But,
And are you the kind of person who wanted to go out?
Oh, sure.
Because Harry Truman liked going out. Those were different days.
Yes, he used to walk consistently, I know. And it was a different time, though. Incidentally, though, I have to wonder about, as we start here, I've heard a great deal from Nancy about a little problem with a cold metal microphone that wound up being against her flesh.
Her body, yes.
Yeah, she didn't have clothes like this on, so...
She was at our studio in New York, and we put the microphone down. It went down her dress and then hit all sorts of parts of her. Down her legs. Anyone in New York, they know your wife intimately. She was a real trooper. You were telling me something interesting before we went on. I think the audience would really be interested in. We know that you're hard of hearing, but it's not due to the aging process.
No.
Tell that. This is really fascinating.
Well, I began finding that, particularly with the one side, I was having a great deal of difficulty in hearing, and finally I went to the very distinguished Dr. House, and he did find that, yes, the hearing was very low there, and so he started asking me about things that might have happened, because it was something that had taken place in the nature of an injury. And I didn't know how far back he wanted to go, and finally, when he said it, as far back as I could remember, I remembered a movie that I made many years ago, and me and another actor were running from the bad guys and went to get behind a tree and start shooting at them. And I'm afraid that my fellow actor didn't know much about guns, because as we turned around the tree, he was just behind me. He put that .38 right up on my shoulder and pulled the trigger. And you know, the concussion actually knocked me 3 or 4 feet to the side. And then Dr. House said, say no more. That's what did it, and it was a deterioration then of the nerves that took place over the years.
Because you sure have handled the aging process well. Do you feel as good as you look? I mean, you look incredible.
Well, thank you very much. I feel just fine.
I mean, you don't... It seems that you are in, you know, everyone's envious, like the hair is real. It grows back, right?
Yes.
They have surgery and it grows back.
I can't take credit for that. That has to be by the genes, because my father died with a very handsome head of hair, and my mother also. So I guess I just inherited that.
You know, you're very good at describing things, and something has fascinated me, and I'm sure the other. What is it like to be shot? I mean, we all think about that. We've watched it in movies. You've played it in movies. You've been shot and shot others. What's it like?
Well, I'll tell you what it's like.
To be really shot.
What it was like was I didn't know I was shot. I heard a noise, and we came out of the hotel and headed for the limousine, and I heard some noise, and I thought it was firecrackers. And the next thing I knew, one of the Secret Service agents behind me just seized me here by the waist and plunged me head first into the limo. I landed on the seat, and the seat divider was down, and then he dived in on top of me, which is part of their procedure to make sure that I'm covered. Well, as it turned out later, the shot that got me caromed off the side of the limousine and hit me while I was diving into the car. And it hit me back here under the arm, and then hit a rib, and that's what caused an extreme pain. And then it turned instead of edgewise and went tumbling down to within an inch of my heart. But when I got in the car, I hadn't felt anything. He landed on top of me, and then the pain, which now I know came from the bullet hitting that rib, that terrific pain. And I said, Jerry, get off. I think you've broken a rib of mine. And he got off very quickly. And just then I coughed. And I had a handful of bright red, frothy blood. So I said, and I guess evidently the broken rib has pierced the lung. Well, he simply turned and said George Washington Hospital, and we were on our way. But, and all the way I used up my handkerchief, and then I used up his, but when I got to the emergency entrance, I got out of the car and walked in, and a nurse met me, and I told her I was having a little trouble breathing, and what I thought it was, and the next thing I knew then when my knees began to turn to rubber, and I wound up on a gurney, and I was wearing a suit like this. For the first time I'd ever worn it. It was brand new, and they were taking scissors and cutting it off of me.
And you were thinking, what did they do? Did you ever think you might die?
No, although I didn't just leave it to chance. I talked to my friend upstairs about that.
But you never thought that this was the end?
No.
Because some people in that situation, in a trauma situation, think it's over.
No, I found out afterward that a lot of those people there at the hospital thought it could very likely be the end. They said that I was very near going into a state of shock. And I had also lost more than half the blood in my body. And so that, but...
Were you angry?
Well, I didn't know for quite a while until they began to tell me about the young man that had done this and what his problem was, that he was not exactly on a normal basis. And so then I added him to my prayers, that prayers for myself, that, well, if I wanted healing for myself, maybe he should have some healing for himself.
The Pope forgave the man who shot him. You forgive John Hinckley?
Yes. I found out he wasn't thinking on all levels. On all cylinders, yeah.
Our guest is the former President of the United States. There's lots to talk about. Your phone calls will be included. He's our only guest tonight, and we'll be back with Ronald Reagan after this.
can lease a 1990 Cadillac.
Ronald Reagan, you've had 2 careers. Not many people have had that either. A full career in one profession, a full career in another. All the time you were in the White House, did you read Variety? Did you keep up with the goings-on out here? Did you stay aware of the business?
Well, I never had a chance at any of the trade papers. I was always interested in what was going on, but I think maybe I could suggest that it was 3 careers, because I started out as a radio sports announcer.
That's right. In fact, we're on the same, you run in Davenport, Iowa, right?
And then over to Des Moines.
Des Moines.
Moved to Des Moines.
So you had 3 careers. But you didn't stay in touch while president with the old career? The old...
Well, as I say, I tried to keep interested, but I never had any access to the trade papers. And, but I tried to keep up with, you know, what was being made in Hollywood and so forth.
Was there a good comparison between the 2, politics and acting? Did you utilize one with the other? I mean, if critics would say you did. Do you feel you did?
Well, I'll have to tell you this one thing. I know that I took an awful lot of abuse when I was running, because people said, what is that? Anyone have the nerve to be an actor and think they could be president of the United States? I have to tell you, there were a number of times when I thought, could you do that job if you hadn't been an actor?
You had to use it, right? It's a skill.
First of all, just like you have the reviewers that pan your pictures and so forth, and then the constant publicity seeking in that business. Well, there's much of that same thing in the business of being president.
There is there's a comparison between the 2 cities, isn't there? Hollywood and Washington.
And you're familiar with the public and the people and so forth. I think one of the things that probably was a help in the presidency was you can't be an actor without liking people. They're your stock in trade. You are out to please them. And
I said, if you don't please them, you don't make it.
That's right. And so the people, what you're thinking of in the presidency. I told every cabinet member and every staff member that I appointed that I wanted to hear from them without any shading on all of the issues that we faced and the decisions that had to be made. I wanted their thinking on it. But the thing, I said, there's one thing I don't want. I don't want to hear anyone tell me what the political ramifications are of some decision that has to be made. We will discuss it only, is it good or bad for the people?
Bill Casey, the late Bill Casey, told me once at a lunch, if Ronald Reagan has one fault, it's an inability to dress people down. He doesn't fire people well. He can't knock someone down well when they deserve it. Was he right?
Well, I guess there was some right in that. Yes, it is difficult for me to fire someone or not to be mean to him in any way.
I mean, you had to do it.
Yes.
But he thought you never liked it.
No.
Some presidents enjoyed it.
Well, no, not me.
And you also don't bear grudges, do you? You seem not to have a meanness.
Well, thank you.
I mean, well, let's take like Donald Reagan. You don't seem to have animosity to it. Your wife has more.
Well, that's in my behalf. She feels a little bit about the same way you are in asking these things and saying these things, but she sometimes thinks that someone's taken advantage of me, and that fires her up more than if they were taking advantage of her.
Yeah, but it doesn't fire you up?
Well, I've sometimes, I've had the staff tell me that they know I'm upset when I throw my glasses.
You've thrown I can't picture that.
Well, yes, sitting at the desk with and throwing them across the desk, the reading glasses and so forth.
Your dander does get up.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. The liking of Gorbachev, was that a real sense of affection? Did you like him?
Yes, I'll have to tell you that, as you know, he was the fourth. There were 3 leaders before him of the Soviet Union, and I didn't have much to do with them. They kept dying on me. But he was totally different than any Russian leader that I had met before. And I have to say, I think that there was a kind of a chemistry there that's set up. Now, on the other hand, I knew too much about communism to believe in words. I said that I would make my decision as to whether we were getting along on the basis of deeds. Every meeting that we ever had, I presented him with a handwritten, my handwriting, list of people that had been brought to my attention who wanted to emigrate and for reasons to get out. And I would give it to him. And in every instance, very shortly, that list, he would have
he
given
came
them
through.
the basis, yes.
You think he would have been a successful politician in this country? Was he just good at it?
Yes, because I think he is a likable person. You find yourself like. But again, knowing the difference between our two systems, I'm not a linguist, but I learned one little Russian phrase, and I used it so often that he used to clap his hands over his ears, and that was doverjai no provejai, which means trust, but verify.
Do you, with all the changes that have occurred in this decade, especially the last year, this incredible year, do you feel a personal sense of accomplishment?
Well, I think that perhaps I had something to do with it because I believe, number one, that in seeking peace with the Soviet Union, it could only be done through strength, not just through words or pleading. And I also believed in the necessity of being frank about how I looked at them and their expansionism and so forth and the things that they were doing and had done here in our own country. And that's why I use some terms like calling them the evil empire and things of that kind.
You think that all paid off?
I think it did, yes. Because in talking about peace and armament, I remember in our first meeting, I said to him that here it was a very unique situation. Here probably were the only two men in the world that could start World War III or maybe bring about peace. And I said that I knew we were going to talk about could we reduce arms and weapons. But I said, I have to remember that we don't mistrust each other because we're armed. We're armed because we mistrust each other. So maybe in as much as talking of reducing arms, maybe we should see if we couldn't find out ways to reduce the causes of the mistrust between us.
Well, you did that.
Well, he accepted that, and I think, you see, there's one thing. He had a need for achieving something. He had discovered that he had inherited an economic basket case, and much of that was due to the military buildup. So if he was going to fulfill the responsibilities of his new job, General Secretary of the Soviet Union, he had to find an answer to that basket case, that terrible economic situation where they couldn't provide enough food for their own people.
We'll talk about the changes that have occurred in Eastern Europe, some current events, and of course take your phone calls. Our guest, the former President of the United States, Ronald Reagan. This is Larry King Live in Los Angeles. We'll be right back.
Are you going to meet again, sir?
We cannot.
This afternoon?
With mace, because the original formula used by police...
Well, he's there, of course, because of the desire of those Baltic countries to have their nationalism reinstated. And I think that he has a great opportunity. The only reason that Stalin and the Soviet Union seized those Baltic states was to save them from Hitler. But now there's no Hitler. And it just seems to me he has a great opportunity to call attention of the world to the fact of why they were taken over, and now there is no longer any need, and then restore to them their nationhood.
You think he might do that?
I don't know, but I think it'd be smart if he did.
If he asked your advice, that's what you'd tell him.
Yes.
The Noriega situation. Would you have done what President Bush did? Would you have gone in?
I think on the basis of all that I know about it and all of the facts you know, I'm not privy to everything now that I'm not there. But yes, I think that the facts as they were, we had tried everything we could domestically and without force before, and we weren't able to move him. And so yes, I think that this is the proper thing.
Do you miss the privy? Do you miss the not being in on the know?
Well, no, because having been there, I know what the situation is, and I know how difficult it would be to try and, even someone like myself who has been there, for them to try and keep me apprised. Now, I must say that they do. I get reports from them, just as I sent reports to the previous presidents. But for making a decision, no, I know how that comes up at such a time.
So you don't personally miss it?
No.
How's, in your opinion, you can be honest now, you don't need the job, how's Dan Quayle doing?
Well, I think Dan Quayle has been badly abused and by much of the media. I think they've ignored looking at his record as a senator. And he has a fine record. And he was looked up to and respected by a great many people. And now this just trying to find every misuse of a word or something, I think he doesn't deserve that.
So he's acquitting himself well, in your opinion? Is that a tough job?
Oh, sure. Yes, it has to be.
Because all the power depends on what the president gives to him.
Yes, and I think that a vice president has to be aware that there's a limit of what they can say or do because of the presidency. But I have to tell you that, and I think George is doing this same thing with him, when I became governor of California, I had a feeling that the lieutenant governor was a position that had been abused. That it was like letting someone sit on the sidelines in case they were needed in the game. Something happened to the to the player. And so the same thing with the vice presidency. I thought that the vice president, it was a waste of talent unless you used him like, say, the vice president of a corporation. So George was a major part of everything we did.
Ollie North said yesterday, you are the man of the decade. Now, how do you react when I'm sure you heard that. How do you react?
Well, now, I have to admit, that gives you a warm feeling inside to hear someone say that, particularly someone who was around when it was going on.
How do you feel about him?
About Ollie North?
Yeah.
Well, I have difficulty in talking about this situation that he was directly involved in, because it is still before the law and all, and I could create some problems if I made statements.
We got to take a break. Did you personally like him?
Yes, and he had a great military record of courage and certainly of taking care of the men.
Your calls for the former president of the United States, Ronald Reagan, next on Larry King Live on this Thursday night, Friday morning in Los Angeles. Don't go away.
Best way to do it.
Now, as include some of your phone calls. This is like only in America. Former President of the United States, Ronald Reagan, your chance to talk to him, and actually the first call is not from America. San Jose, Costa Rica. Hello.
Yes, hello, Larry. Mr. President,
yes,
this is indeed an honor. In regards to your actions while president and regarding the Contra activities, do you think that it's possible that there will ever be a verifiable free election in Nicaragua? And two, in regards to our activities in Panama, why do you think that the news media has not mentioned the large number of Cuban, Libyan, PLO, and other such groups that have had a strong military presence in Panama?
All right, let's send the first one first. Think we'll ever see that in Nicaragua?
Well, I think we can, but I think some things have to be done. In Nicaragua, the revolution against the dictator, the revolutionaries at one point in that asked that dictator to step down in order to save the lives and stop the killing. And he said, well, what are the revolutionary goals? And, well, incidentally, I'm ahead of myself. They asked the Organization of American States to ask him to do that. And this question then came back, and the Organization of American States asked the revolutionary goals, and they were listed as being everything that we have. Pluralistic society, freedom of the press, all of these things that go for democracy. And these were promised to the Sandinistas. Now, the Sandinista organization has that name because of a Sandini, a man, and it was a communist organization. When he stepped down, the dictator stepped down, and the revolution was over, they were the only really organized group in the revolution. They took over. They even exiled and got rid of some of the other leaders of the revolution. And they have not kept a single promise about this being a democracy.
So you are not optimistic?
Well, I'm optimistic in the belief that if the Organization of American States, if all the other Central American countries and ourselves, if we will ensure that there can be a team to watch this election and not just leave it to the Sandinista government, because then, no, it's not going to happen. But if they are there and can ask it, I have confidence that the people of Nicaragua will vote for democracy.
To Kalamazoo, Michigan, hello.
Hello, Mr. President. You're looking very good, sir.
Well, thank you.
Do you think a black or a woman will ever be elected president? If so, will it be in your lifetime?
Well, I don't know whether it'll be in my lifetime or not. I would hope so, but I think that both things can happen. You only have to look at the progress that has been made already. And one of the things that I could point out right now that I think there should be more in looking for presidential candidates, there should be more looking at governors. For a time in our history, that's where you found the presidents. And I can tell you, having been a governor and having been a president, the only job in the United States that is similar to the presidency, and very similar, is the job of governor.
Is this a statement for the new governor of Virginia?
Well, what I'm
black?
saying is we now have had some experience with black governors, with women governors, and we can match them with anyone else. And if we set out to look at the records of governors with their states, we could judge on the basis of what they've done for their state as to what they could do for the nation, because, as I say, I was surprised as president. In the first 48 hours, I was surprised to realize how undifferent this new job was than what I had done in California.
I know he's not in your party, but are you a little encouraged by the election of a black governor in Virginia? Is this a good sign?
Well,
I know I'm taking you away from partisanship here.
Well, I would like to point out that race should no longer be the consideration. This consideration should be political philosophy. Now, there I have to get into Democrat and Republican, and I've been both in that regard. And I have to ask how many Democrats, if they really pin down the policies of their party, how many of them can still be supportive of them? I didn't really leave the party, I don't think. It left me.
To Santa Rosa, California, with former President Ronald Reagan. Hello.
Hi, Larry King. Hi, President Reagan. I'm so impressed that I got through.
You got through?
Yeah. My daughter, when she was 18 months old, and we were in a poster shop, she saw your face on a Van Heusen shirt commercial, a print ad, and she said, oh, there's President Reagan. And all the adults were, like, totally surprised. They didn't even recognize you, but she did. Anyway, my question is, if you were interested in getting back into show business at all, commercials, or movies or TV? And do you watch Falcon Crest?
Fair question. Fair question. Let me start with the other. I happen to believe that to return to show business, and I love show business, but I happen to believe that returning to that now would seem as if I was trying to capitalize on the presidency. And besides, now that I'm out, I have some other things that I very seriously believe I should be doing, and I'm trying to do. And that is to get back on the mashed potato circuit, the after lunch and after dinner speaking, and speak up to the people for some of the things that we didn't get done while I was there.
So you're going to continue to be active?
Yes. For example, this country needs a balanced budget amendment to the Constitution.
Well, you've been fighting for that for a long time.
Yes, and it needs the line item veto. 43 governors have it. I had it, where you can pick out of a big hodgepodge bill certain things that are simply costly and are just pork and shouldn't be done, and veto them, and then the legislature would have to override your veto to get them back. Well, I was one of the 43 governors that had that when I was governor of California. I used the line item veto 943 times and was never overridden once. Now, for a president to not have that same authority, and I have to tell you that the Congress, over a great many years, has continued to nibble away at the authority of the president until when I hear some of them accuse me of having the budget deficits. The president of the United States can't spend a dime. Only the Congress can spend money. So who's
now
to blame for
Tip O'Neill mad again. You missed the tipper.
Well,
he misses you.
Well, yes. I must say, Tip was one who kept the politics and the personality separate. In other words, as he once said to me when I caught him saying something pretty rough about me, well, he said, "That's politics, old fella." He said, "Old buddy, after 6 o'clock, we're friends." So every once in a while, when I knew I had a meeting with him, I set my clock ahead to 6 o'clock.
You want to answer the Falcon Crest question? It was asked. She asked if you watched that show.
I don't know that I've had time to watch that so much.
No.
No, other than the news and trying to follow the news, I can't say that...
Do you watch films a lot?
Sometimes I like to turn to that channel that puts on the old ones, just in case they might be putting on one of mine.
Do you watch it? Do you watch yourself?
If I see the movie and think it'd be interesting, and because I'm surprised to learn how many movies I didn't see.
Really?
But yeah, you think living in Hollywood, and then suddenly you see a movie and say, "I remember that title and all, but I never saw that."
I like the one you did with Nancy, the Navy one.
Oh,
that was a good film.
Well,
I like that movie. See that a lot.
That was from a book written by Admiral Nimitz, and it was about an operation that took place in World War II, in which a whole flotilla of our submarines went into the Sea of Japan, went to the bottom, and laid there until a signal to come up, and then they came up to virtually wipe out the Japanese merchant marine, which was getting the supplies for Japan from the mainland, from China. And it was a very successful
What was the title of
operation. Well, the title of the book was Operation Hellcat. But the studio decided to change the name to Hellcats of the Navy.
Yeah.
And I thought they should have stuck with the first title.
We'll be right back with the former President of the United States, Ronald Reagan, after this. Don't go away.
If you seek prosperity for the Soviet Union and Eastern Europe, if you seek liberalization, come here to this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
This is it. The game is about to start.
Wall, Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Now, you can't tell me you figured that would happen.
Well, I meant what I said when I said tear it down. It, you know, it was such a, how can you, how would we feel if you wanted to put a wall down the Mississippi River from Canada to the Gulf?
Do you think they're going to unify that country?
I don't know, but I do believe it's up to them. And I don't think there should be too much interference from the outside with them.
How did you react to the criticism of the Japan appearance and the fee?
Well,
I don't think I heard your reaction. Now,
well,
Nancy said she did a lot more than just 2 speeches.
Yes. As a matter
Your
of
reaction?
fact, well, we were there 9 days. And Nancy managed to set up an anti-drug program, as she has in this country. And I was there because the economic summit, of which I was a member, 7 countries, and Japan was one of them, United Kingdom, Canada, United States, and each year the heads of state of those 7 countries met to see how we could do things to improve trade relations and free trade and this sort of thing. We made great progress in those several years of meeting, and a lot of it with Japan, which had some restrictions on trade, and we got some of them lifted. Well, I felt that in going to Japan, I could help in bringing about a closer relationship, and I was amazed at how much the Japanese people want to be a friend of the United States.
Do you understand, though, why people were angered or upset about getting a fee for it?
Well, not when I realized that an actor before me, they have a different system and approach to things. I didn't ask for that. I didn't set a fee or anything.
You didn't?
No, they offered this. But an actor that I happen to know of from here, he received $3 million just for doing a spot ad on television for an automobile company. $3 million. And
so in other words, you didn't request this fee, they offered this fee.
That's right, that was the offer.
Tarzana, California for Ronald Reagan. Hello.
Hello, Mr. President. As a political science student, it is indeed an honor to talk to you. My question is, do you believe that the campaign Bush conducted in 1988 involving Willie Horton and Boston Harbor, did you feel was a little too negative, too personal? And how do you feel about negative ads in general?
Well, I think that he was goaded into this. And I think it was a case of trying to remind the people that Massachusetts, first of all, their own people were calling it Taxachusetts, and many people were moving across a state line to live in another state because of their tax.
You don't
program.
think it was at all dirty on?
And well, I think you have to realize what the other man is saying, including your response. It isn't just an open attack on someone who has not opened the subject himself. But I think, yes, to hold with a program in which a man is freed and then goes out and commits dastardly deeds and against his fellow human beings.
It's fair game.
Yes.
Our guest, the former President of the United States, Ronald Reagan. Some more phone calls on Larry King Live from Los Angeles after this.
One of my old favorite songs, way back when. So, golly gee, take it from me. We're all glad to see you home again.
Again, we go to Oslo, Norway. Hello.
Hello.
What time is it in Norway?
What?
What time is it?
Oh, it's nearly 4 o'clock in the morning.
Wow, 4 o'clock in the morning. Wow. What's your question?
I wonder very much about, has it ever, during your time of presidency, been a chance of nuclear war between Soviet Union and America, or, I mean...
Good question. Were we ever close?
I don't think so, because while I disagreed with the policy that was called the MAD policy, M-A-D, it at least had seen both countries armed to the point that neither one wanted to take the risk of starting that war because each of us knew how well armed we were. But I did feel that we could not keep on doing that, and it was a foolish policy. And so when the opportunity came to get an intermediate range treaty on the weapons, the missiles that the Soviet Union had aimed at the cities of Europe, and we in NATO were asked to give NATO something to counter that, and we did. The Pershing missiles and the cruise missiles and started, and the Soviet Union protested. Well, that led then to a meeting, and thank heaven, a meeting with Gorbachev, where I said, well, the answer then is 0-0. You get rid of yours and we'll get rid of ours.
But we were never close to conflict in your 8 years.
I don't think so, no.
We'll be right back with our remaining moments with the former President of the United States, Ronald Reagan, after this.
What's next?
Couple of other things. AIDS. Were we late on that?
I don't think, no, certainly we were not unnecessarily so. It was a plain case of catching up with things, and I immediately appointed a commission to get into the whole problem of AIDS and come back with the recommendations of what we could and should be doing.
Do you think Rock Hudson focused a lot of our attention on it?
Oh, I think that brought a lot of attention to it.
Did you know him well?
Well, I knew him as we knew each other in Hollywood, as fellow actors and all, but not more than that.
Are you hopeful about it?
Well, yes, I think we have to be hopeful about it, or we'll find ourselves back in those days of the plagues that wiped out millions of people.
Sandusky, Ohio, for Ronald Reagan. Hello.
Hi, real quick, Ron, I just want to tell you I love you. And I just want to know what your favorite actor or actress was that you worked with, and I wish you could run again for many more years.
Well...
Not a bad call.
Thank you for your call, and appreciate it. And obviously, I have to tell you that my opportunity to act with an actress, Nancy Davis...
Didn't turn out too bad.
She was a nurse, and I was a naval officer, and so forth, and... we went home together because we were married.
What actor did you like working with?
Well, now, there were a lot of them that's pretty hard.
Was Flynn fun?
Yes, although I can tell you an unusual thing about Errol. Errol, with all that figure and all that he had and that ability in the action films and so forth, actually had an inferiority complex about his acting ability.
Really?
Yes. And so he was always kind of looking for a way to maybe get an advantage, which he thought he should have because the other actor, if, for example, if you were playing a co-star, as I did with him in Santa Fe Trail and pictures of that kind, he never bothered about the people who could really steal scenes, the character actors. That didn't bother him, but it was another leading man type.
He'd move in on you.
Yes, and he would try to want the camera a little favoring him.
Stay well.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Our guest has been the former President of the United States, Ronald Reagan. He married pretty good, too. We'll come back tomorrow night with Michael Landon and Sammy Davis Jr. Walter Matthau next Tuesday. We'll be in Los Angeles all next week, and don't forget, Sunday night, the ACE Awards. Good night.
The evening news is next, followed by Moneyline, here on CNN.
Science materials and how they withstand. Then they planned 10 months in space, but now it has been nearly 6 years that it has been floating around, orbiting the Earth more than 32,000 times. Joining us from San Francisco is James Van Hoften, a former NASA astronaut who now works for Bechtel, and he was on the flight and helped deploy LDEF back in 1984. And we were talking a moment ago that when they lost the picture they were probably too busy to fix it and too busy to put it back out because they were right at the point where they were going to grapple LDEP.
Yes, you hate to say this, but when you're up there, you're pretty busy, and the last thing you really worry about is what the poor people on the ground that are anxiously awaiting the pictures of what's going on. Back, if you recall, after we deployed LDEF and we had a little difficulty in retrieving the Solar Max, we had almost the same event where we didn't really tell them what was going on until it was over.
Yeah, the picture we're seeing right now is a different angle. They're starting to move it around. I'm sure the photography has started as soon as they effected the capture, and because they'll have plenty of work to be doing right now. I expect them to be very busy in the next 3.5 hours or so taking these photographs and documenting each one what they're shooting.
Yes, this is from the aft camera on the, I guess, the port aft camera looking forward. And you'll see them rotate the LDEF around into a canned series of maneuvers that will place it right over the top of the cabin of the shuttle, and then Marcia Ivins will be taking a series of pictures for some 4.5 hours to document all these little panels.
When you talk about moving around something this large, it's 30 feet by 14 feet, about the size of a small bus. The arm, though, is very limber and can do very precise movements in space.
Well, the arm is, as you recall, back when I was standing on the end of the arm and maneuvering around a 15,000-pound satellite with just my hands, it's a somewhat tricky maneuver, but of course you're here in zero gravity, so all you do is it's like moving around a yacht in its berth. You can do it, you just have to be careful. And the arm itself is only capable of about 25 pounds of force, so everything is done, as you notice, very slowly.
And the pictures will be taken very slowly. The next 6 days, the astronauts aboard Columbia will be doing scientific and medical experiments after they finally secure later today the long-duration exposure facility in the cargo bay, and then we'll put the orbiter in the position to continue the mission. James Van Hoffman, I'd like to thank you for joining us, giving us an insight today into what it was like to watch it go out and what it is like to see it come back nearly 6 years later. It has to be a very fantastic moment for you, one that you probably wondered would ever occur.
I sure did. Thank you very much, Tom.
All right. So, the mission is going to continue for some time, but LDEF is safely back, and we, of course, will continue to provide live coverage throughout the mission. Now to Reed Collins in Washington.
And just ahead on World Day, Soviet leader...
Robot arm of Columbia, after spending more than 32,420 orbits in space. On the 49th orbit, they finally caught up with it. Ever since it was launched, they have been making this the primary objective and making a complete maneuver around to catch up with it. 1.3 million miles from the time they took off until they caught up with it this morning, about 45 minutes ago. And it was a ballet that was finally successfully completed when the robot arm reached out and grabbed it.
Houston, Columbia.
Go ahead, Columbia.
We have LDEF.
Congratulations on a job well done.
Captured LDEP with a $50 million mechanical arm that locked on it. It has two cameras, one located at the elbow and another located at the end. You're seeing a picture here now of the long-duration exposure facility. It is being held out. They are in darkness right now, unable to take pictures, but in a few moments they will be once again passing over daylight and be spending the next 3 to 4 hours taking photographs of the experiments. There is some concern that when they bring the long-duration exposure facility back to Earth, that some of the experiments that have been up there for so long may fall apart, so they want to get as much documentation as they can prior to the fact that they're going to bring it back, and it may not look the same when it gets back on the ground. So scientists have to be extremely pleased now that LDEF is going to be returned to Earth pretty much in one piece. James Van Hoffman, the astronaut who was on the mission back in '84 when Challenger deployed it, says it looked pretty much as if it hadn't been anywhere for more than 4.5, 5 years in space. So LDEF has been successfully captured. They now have it back. It's going to sit at the end of the robot arm for several hours while they take those pictures. Then they will put it inside the shuttle's cargo bay. The arm being manipulated around to put it in the bay after they have finished their photographic documentation of it. Then they will close the cargo bay doors and for the next few days be working on some other experiments while LDEF sits back in the cargo bay. They will be doing some scientific and medical experiments to fill out the mission. January 19th, early in the morning, they land at Edwards Air Force Base in California. This picture you see here is the camera at the end of the robot arm as they moved up to make the capture. You see one of the experiments on the top of the screen, a reflective panel. These things that scientists want to get back and get their hands on the ground. 57 experiments, most of them passive, most of them to help design a much better space shuttle or a space station at the end of the decade. Most of these materials, by spending more than the 10 months in space, will provide some information that is much needed for the space station program and for the Star Wars missile defense program. They also have several experiments on board LDEF that they will be getting the information from. We will continue to provide live coverage throughout the mission with the landing again scheduled on the 19th. But Saturday morning we will have a chance to get some of the impressions from Columbia's astronauts. As we have a news conference from space, we of course will carry it live here on CNN. Now back to Bob.
Tom, if you want to smoke on a Delta Airlines flight, you may want to book a flight to Nairobi. Delta is banning smoking on all its North American flights as of February 25th because